Welcome to the next episode of Coach's Corner. This episode is called Sidelined and is episode 4. And I'm joined with Richard Williams. Hello, Rich.
Hello, Chris.
Now, it's definitely not going to be an awkward one. I know Rich very, very well. We go back quite a long way with regards to coaching and become very good friends in that transition and worked with each other for a very long time. So the reason why it is called Sidelined is Rich is obviously now, well, he has been coaching for a very, very long time, which is what we're going to get into. But the reasons why he got into coaching is definitely something that's worth sharing with people. And I think people will take away a lot from his journey to see what you can do to progress and succeed within coaching. So, Rich, we're going to go straight back to the start, early stages. What is it that got you into football, fell in love with the game? How early was it?
5 years old. I'm going right back to infant school. I guess kind of a natural thing, you know. Most boys, a lot of kids just start playing football. Infant school into junior school. So I just remember those very, very, very early days. Just started playing and wasn't bad at it. Mm-hmm. You know, was okay. And then just went on from there. So in terms of early days, I'm talking 5, 6 years old, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And you were obviously you're quite a local lad to us, so you brought up in Yateley.
Born and bred in Yateley. Yeah.
And we've done quite a bit of coaching in and around the area, and there's quite a few times that I bump into people when I'm with you, and they obviously talk very highly of you as a player back in the day. So obviously starting at 5, obviously progressing yourself up, and I would say getting into a level of football playing that is very high. How did you get into sort of that journey of the game? Yeah,
so my journey, I was school football initially, into club football at an early age, as kids tend to do these days. Then as you start to sort of get better, you think, could there be something in this? And then you're naturally progressing. Junior teams on a weekend. School football then becomes district football, county football. So I was kind of district captain, county captain, playing in a good, successful junior team. Winning trophies, winning leagues, winning district cups, county cups, that kind of thing. As tends to happen, and still very much happens now, the professional scouts come looking. Mm-hmm. So a number of scouts from various clubs sort of looking at our team, looking at me and a friend of mine at the time in the team, with a view to signing us. Some top clubs, some big clubs, being that we were in Hampshire, the likes of Southampton, etc., looking at us. But for my sins and being a Tottenham fan, my dad went, "Nah, I'm not having that. Why aren't Tottenham looking?" So wouldn't happen these days, but literally wrote a letter to Tottenham. I said, "Look, my son's not bad. There's a few clubs looking. Would you come down and have a look?" Mm-hmm. And they did. They sent someone out. I was 12 years old, playing in Yateley. It's now Sean Devereux Park. Back in the day, it was known as Chandler's Lane. The pitch is still there now. 12 years old, he come down, looked at one game and said, "Right, yep, I'll have you and you." Almost there and then signed myself and my friend Nick. And that's when it then obviously snowballed from there. Different then to what it is now. So then it was very much you train once a week. On a Monday night, we used to go to a centre in Crystal Palace for a couple of years. Then it became 2 sessions a week in the evening. So I used to go to Tottenham. Back then there was an indoor AstroTurf at the main ground at White Hart Lane. So I was there on a Tuesday and a Thursday for a couple of seasons. The whole time you could play for your school, play for your district, play for your county, play for your junior team as well. Now, of course, as soon as you're signed by a professional club, now at the age of 7, 8, 9, they basically stop you playing junior football, really. So different then, we could play all that football. And then after GCSEs, as it is now, you then get offered a full-time scholarship or not, or released. And I was fortunate to be in a position where I went straight from school, straight from GCSEs at Yateley, to being signed full-time. So I was a full-time player at Tottenham for the next 3 years. So that's kind of my journey from local school football in Yateley to being a full-time sort of professional football with Tottenham.
So you're in Tottenham, and what is it like being a part of sort of a Premiership club's youth system? Give us the intel of that experience.
Being from Yateley, which is down in Hampshire, quite a sort of a rural town, to then every week, and as it turned out every day, going to London was a culture shock.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. You have to grow up quick. Mm-hmm. You have to have a bit about you. It's a very, very different world, very different life. But on the flip side of that, if you can cope with that, the sort of the environment you're in is amazing. Even back then, a few years ago now, things have moved on even more. But the coaching you get, the support, the facilities, equipment, etc. I guess at the time, you almost took it for granted. You kind of think, this is almost not natural, but you kind of, you're 12 years old, 13, 14, you don't really know too much different. So you kind of do take it for granted. But now on reflection, looking back, pretty lucky, pretty privileged to actually be in that situation and have that support, the facilities, the equipment, etc., and the level of coaching. So,
So what would you like, your characteristics as a person now, even though it may have been 2 or 3 years or 4 years that was there, how has that shaped you as a person? So what has it sort of added to you as a character? Because it's very, we work with all ages now, and currently quite heavily involved with 16s to 18s. And I think someone that from your experience within that sort of age frame of seeing how we're sort of coping with them now, how has that shaped you? Because the generations are so different now.
Yeah, very, very different. I think it gives you, makes you very resilient. I was definitely very resilient, probably very, very determined. Even though you sort of, say you take it for granted, I didn't. You do realise you're in a fortunate position, so it just gives you that determination and appreciation. That look, you're in a fortunate position. So I think resilient, very much so, and that will come out later when we talk about other things. Determination as well, but I think almost if you didn't have those characteristics before, you may not have got in that environment in the first place. But it definitely makes you grow up. When you're 16 years old and you leave a leafy town like Yateley and you go and live in North London at the age of 16 straight from school. I've now got a 16-year-old daughter, to even think of that. So resilience, determination, and it really makes you grow up very, very quickly at quite a young age, actually.
Yeah, and I suppose it's on topic, but slightly off topic, is obviously this is about coaching, and the coaches that you had back then, which you probably really valued of what you were getting, are they much different then to the coachings that we've got now?
Yes and no. Firstly, what I would say is, even my very, very first coach at Tottenham, Ted Powell, bless him, no longer with us, but still to this day would say he's one of the 2 best coaches I've ever played under. Yeah. So actually shaped me as a player, as a coach, and to a point a human being. Just the most fantastic individual, such a great manner about him, and you almost took on board everything he said. You really, really not just wanted to play for him, you wanted to learn off him as well. So that was kind of one extreme. The other extreme is when you sort of start getting into full-time football, you come across coaches back then, probably still now, that are very much the opposite of that. And it's just, they're less about the people. It's very harsh, it's very blunt. A lot of shouting, so not necessarily as constructive, not as sort of positive, just maybe more about the winning. So I've seen both angles, but almost both ends of the spectrum.
That transition from the youth into the men's, and it's their job role, so they're expected to hit certain targets and stuff like that. So I suppose we do see that now, obviously with that transition from youth into men's, and then obviously we talk about that sort of last part of the Tottenham experience for you. Explain that, because obviously it did come to an end with Tottenham.
Yeah, so that was, that's really, really harsh, and I'll explain it now. When you're there from the age of 12, all you've ever known, or all I ever knew as a player from the age of 6, 7, 8, 9 was you're the best. You're the best in the team. You then go and play district. You're the best in the district team. You're captain. You're the best in the county team. You're captain. Then you get signed by Tottenham. You're playing in the team. You're playing a year up. And then you go full time and you get signed, and all everyone's talking about is positive. You know, you're the next so and so, and you know we're going to see you. You're going to get in the first team, and you even then as a full-time player, you know, given the opportunity to play a year up, and then all of a sudden after 3 years, or halfway through the third year, it's a conversation in the coach's office, just like we are now, sitting down. Sorry, Rich, we're going to release you. I mean, and talk about a bolt out of the blue. You know, it's just absolute smacks you in the face. It's don't know how to react to me at all. You know, it's and back then, don't know what it's like now so much. But back then, not an awful lot of support. It's thanks very much for the last 7 years. You've done great, but we release you and off you go. And I don't even really remember there being, but can you go to this club? You know, we spoke to the guys at this club, or there's this opportunity or that exit route. It's just, we're going to release you at the end of the season, and almost to a point, find your own way from now. So at that point, yes, it was massively disappointing and hard to take, you know, to put it mildly. I was, going back to sort of previous points, I was of the mindset and the characteristics where, right, I'll show you. I'll go and get another club, and I'll still make a success. Because, by the way, I still know I'm a very good player. Just because, you know, you've changed your opinion. So, off my own back, I then, or you know, with the help of my dad, went on loan to Stoke, went on loan to Reading, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out. So I still had the determination to try and find another club off my own back. Didn't happen for different reasons, and then ended up playing National League at the age of 19 at Farnborough Town. So still a good level. But again, that was kind of my contacts at Farnborough, being a local lad, almost approaching them as well. So,
so I think like we're going to be stuff like this that's being heard when you're sitting in that office and they deliver that punchline of just saying, we're going to release you. There's going to be thousands of people that have heard that. The words have literally just come out of that coach or manager's mouth. What is like the first emotion?
Disbelief.
Yeah. Is it like one of those sinking stomach pains of just
absolutely.
like, where all of a sudden like the whole room becomes blank and you're just like, you don't really know what to think or say, and he might be talking and it's just all a bit of a blur.
Yeah, it is a blur, because to this day I still don't think I was given reasons. I possibly was, but I couldn't tell you what those reasons were. Probably because I was just like rabbit in the headlights. Like, what the hell are you telling me? I've been here for 7 years. I'm a Tottenham fan. Not that comes into it, but it's more the how long you've been there and what's been said to you during those 7 years. You know, you're fantastic. You're one of our top players. You're playing a year up. You know, we always select you. You're playing in every game, and all of a sudden it's off you go. You know, goodbye, thanks very much. So it is, yeah, disbelief. Not necessarily thinking, what am I going to do now? But it's just,
stunned.
What?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I think we've seen it. We've seen it at our time at Fulham, where we've seen boys come in at such a young age, all the way through 16s, 17s. It's time for them to sign a pro, and they could have been there from even as young as 7 or 8 when they first sign at 9s, and then they get dropped. Like that whole journey, I suppose they feel like part of the furniture of that club, like they've been around it and everything, and they've, do you know what I mean? And the thing that I picked up on what you just said there, which is I'm a big believer of, and I think some clubs do it well now, they probably didn't back then, but it is that aftercare and that support. And I speak to people obviously regarding our programs that we run, especially with the college programs we run, and you know, I always like to think that like the oldest people that have been within our program, who are now 27, we tend to see them once a year by just organising a past v present. Then you meet up with them and you're like, how you been? What you been up to? You're doing this, you're doing that. You playing football anymore? No, I'm not playing football. Or, yes, I am. I'm still playing level. And just having that one meeting every year just keeps those connections going. And I think like there's a lot of boys that go through these professional clubs, and then when they get turned away, I don't think they have any contact with them ever again. And
no,
it's almost,
absolutely not. No, even teammates.
Not all of them. I think some of them may, but yeah, I just feel like the aftercare is something where I'm assuming now, more so now, it's probably a little bit more looked after.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
No, you're right. But back in our day, there was nothing. It literally was a goodbye, maybe a handshake. Didn't even really keep in contact with teammates that went on to make hundreds of games or play hundreds of games in the first team. So probably a different world back then. It's easy to keep in contact with people nowadays. Of course it is with social media, etc. But no, from a club's perspective, that's probably the biggest sort of letdown you had was that aftercare. What we're going to do now? Where are you going to go now? How can the club help you to stay involved in playing or any other future career you want to do? And even almost even a step back from that, especially the friend that I went to Tottenham with initially, he went to another club, got released a few years before me, but he took the decision when he got released from that other club at a similar age to just stop playing. Just had enough. I didn't want to stop playing. I was like, no, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go and play somewhere else. I'm going to make a success of myself if you don't want me. But and that was that was a common recurring theme of players at that time as well. Just stopped. Age of 18, 19. Been through the pro club for so long, and it's been so cutthroat to then get released. They were just, no, I'm done with it. I'm done with football, which is a real shame.
Yeah.
Like I said, even for myself. And some people, a lot of people that we work with right now, they'd bite your right arm off to be playing National League football.
Yeah.
Step 1 football. For me, it was, I'm only playing Step 1 football.
Yeah,
I'm only playing National League. Last week I was training at Tottenham.
Yeah.
Now I'm only playing. But actually, it was 3 of the best years of my life playing National League. But players that I know just went, no, I'm done with football.
Yeah.
Which is incredible shame.
So you've obviously touched base on a little bit of your mindset about saying, right, I'm going to show you, I'm going to keep pursuing it. And you set yourself probably goals at the times. You said you went to Stoke, you went to Reading, didn't quite work out. Then you come into Farnborough. Just said there that obviously 3 greatest years of your life there. What happened beyond Farnborough?
Yeah, so again, best part of 3 seasons at the club, playing a lot of games, 70 or 80 games at National League, 19, 20, 21. And, we're both involved in this sort of non-league football now. That when players are that age playing Step 1, Step 2, even below that, clubs are looking again. Pro clubs are looking all the time at that level to take players back into the pro game if they've come out like me, or into the pro game for the first time. And definitely those sort of the 3rd season there. Again, a lot of it's rumours, but there's a lot of rumours of this club and that club. Premier League clubs at the time, possibly even Tottenham re-looking, were looking at me. Week in, week out. Everything was just positive, and it was February. It was literally a case of when someone was going to sign me again. Premier League clubs, Championship clubs. Not if, it was when. It was weeks, if not months, weeks away. Then February the 12th, 1997, I was involved in a very, very, very serious car crash, which I didn't know it at the time, but that was the last time I ever played football. So I was 21 years old. So yeah, kind of 3 years previously rejection. Then my days at Farnborough, football actually ended due to an injury, or due to an injury caused by a car crash.
Which is obviously, I've spoken to you about it previously before, and it's obviously quite a difficult time to look back and reflect on. When that happens and you get that feedback about you not being able to play again, you've had the first rejection, like you just said, which is one of those gut-wrenching moments, 21 years old, and you're almost told you can't play again. What does that do? What does that do to you?
That was harder to take. Rejection is one thing, because you can still have another go. There's another chance or other chances. To actually be sitting down with the surgeon here and him literally going, well, you're never going to play football again. That's even harder again. Even sitting here now, 26 years later, just reflecting on it, it's you still get that sort of feeling in your stomach again. So again, not to go back in any way the actual incident, but to actually get that news that you're never going to play again at 21, when it's all you're ever going to be doing from the age of 5, 6, 7. I remember infant school, that old thing about when you write things down, what are you going to do for a career? I'm going to be a footballer.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. I'm going to be a footballer, and that's it.
Yeah.
And actually, I followed that through. Every step of the way, it was happening, and it was about to happen again. So to actually get that taken away from you again, actually for the final time, that's a whole nother level of pain, physically and mentally, again.
So obviously we see people, well, on a regular basis that sustain injuries, you know, whether it's anything, MCLs, ACLs. I know yours was around your knee, and obviously trying to motivate them and tell them. I mean, we've only really had one instance where somebody's been advised not to play again, which is obviously just devastating to think that that game has gone. Was there anything at any point where you thought, I'm going to try and see if I can do it? Or did you just think
No.
that it's closed?
No, it was so bad. Probably didn't need him to tell me it in hindsight, but yeah, there was no way that I could have gone and played football again. It was any turning, twisting at all, just it's so unstable. So no, it was never going to happen. No. It was almost just a clarification from the surgeon it wasn't going to happen. But yeah, in hindsight, in reality, no, there was no point even trying, to prove him wrong, because it just wouldn't have happened. It was too bad.
So football itself, playing the game, it stops. How long of a time does it take for that to sink in, or will it never sink in?
Probably when you get to an age where you can't play anymore.
Yeah.
So let's say the age of 21, which I was, through to mid-30s, the whole time, I'm talking daily, weekly, it's, and to different degrees, it's to a point bitterness, almost still denial to a point. But yeah, almost until you get to the age where you're finally going, right, I wouldn't be playing at a top level now.
Yeah.
That's probably when you accept it. Before that, you learn to live with it, learn to deal with it in different ways. That takes a while as well. But until you actually get to an age where you physically couldn't play anymore, mid to late 30s, that's when you go, okay, now you can almost move on. But I moved on before that, but well, job-wise, maybe not emotionally, but that's probably the age.
I mean, that's a long period of time. You're talking maybe some players, I'm coaching some lads at the moment, managing some lads that are hitting 40. So quite a few of them are playing later. So but let's just say 15 years of sitting there thinking, I could be doing that. Do you know what I mean? Is that the way it is the whole time?
Especially when you're watching your teammates on TV.
Yeah.
So, maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, you're in the same team as them, and then they're playing Premier League, playing international football. And actually you're going, are they any better than me? No, they're not. They got the right break at the right time, face fitted, position came up, whatever. There's different reasons why people make it. But no, it's there was a lot of bitterness.
Yeah.
Again, probably should have dealt with it, or could have dealt with it differently, maybe better. But there was a lot of bitterness, anger, definitely. A lot of emotions, not many of them very pleasant.
Yeah. But it just must be reoccurring the whole time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it must just constantly be coming back thinking, God, so when you get to that stage, you could go through 15 years of, like you said before previously, where people decided to stop, you've been forced to stop. How did you build your relationship back with the game?
It was pretty quick, actually. It was pretty quick. It was even... I used to go back and watch Farnborough, just staying with the lads, be in the changing rooms, go for a few not outs, whatever. Always wanted to stay involved, because that's not what I've only known, but that was my first love, my first passion was football. So it always, even though I couldn't play, almost immediately went, no, I'm going to stay involved. I'm going to do something. I want to stay involved in football. And actually at that time, initially, didn't have anything else to fall back on anyway. Did well at school, did well in my GCSEs, etc., but no other career to speak of. So it was almost a natural progression, I guess, just to say, well, okay, if I can't play, I'll coach. And pretty quick when I did my level 2, level 3 coaching badges. So
around that age, like sort of 20,
early 20s, yeah,
early
20s, yeah.
So badges, just badges to begin with.
I was coaching as well, coaching alongside badges. I guess initially some volunteer coaching, did my badges, and actually, alongside of that's when I also did my fitness qualifications as well. So again, I was coming back to earlier points, kind of determined, a certain mindset, a certain sort of personality that doesn't want to accept defeat. It doesn't could have just gone, no, not for me. I'm just going to go and bum around and sort of just be lost to life, really. But no, that's not my character. So it was being involved in football, staying involved in football, giving something back to football, but also thinking, what else can I do in and around the similar kind of field? So fitness I love my fitness, still do now. So I did my fitness qualifications at the same time. So kind of almost two things going side by side.
And then we've obtained the level 2, the level 3. We've done the volunteer coaching. Stepping into that next sort of chapter of, making it a career. What was your first, I suppose, coaching job that you had?
It was back in Farnborough. I was working with some of the junior teams at Farnborough Town, helping out with the youth team, the under 18s. That would have been pretty much on a voluntary basis then. And then came across something that's pretty close to both our hearts. I don't actually remember how I came across it. Stumbled across this fantastic organisation called Curva Coaching. And that's when I've very sort of really then branched out and went from helping out a little bit of volunteer coaching, maybe the odd session of getting paid. That's when it actually became a career for me. Mid-20s, actually moved away from this area here in the south of England to the Midlands. It's quite a random thing to do, but we brought our first house in the Midlands in Leicester, and at pretty much the same time came across Curva, and then actually had my own franchise. Ran my own business, like you do now with Complete. I had my own business. I had my own franchise. I was Curva Coaching regional director for the Midlands or Leicester and East Midlands, I think it was. And that's that was kind of my first sort of soiree into it being a job, but also it was my own business. It was my own career. That was my life and my career.
Yeah,
so sort of mid-20s.
And then I think like you said, it's close to both of us. I mean, I was coaching quite early while still trying to play sort of on the sideline, and the Curva thing was great. I think it opened my mind to a completely different aspect to coaching, like that skills-based ball mastery, technical input. I mean, I think we both met some magnificent coaches during that process, and we spent a long time there. I think probably some of the most valuable things that I've ever done, because I was speaking to somebody the other day about the power of watching other coaches. Now I learn from people that I employ as coaching. There's some of the stuff that they do, but that different type of coach that you had, and that loads of them come to the top of my head. I'm thinking, oh, that's nice. And it was brilliant. I mean, I had a great time with it. And then, so from those Curva days, what happened beyond that?
Yeah, so I then stayed in the Midlands for 7 or 8 years. So a fantastic time, great business, had some great coaches working. I say under me, with me, like we work with coaches. They may technically be employed by you or work under you or whatever, but we all work together as coaches. So I stayed up there for 7 or 8 years, then moved back here around this area, carried on the Curva thing for a couple of years back in this area, or a year or so back in this area, and then within that kind of time we sort of probably when we were sort of started working together at Fulham around that sort of time, and the Curva thing. So then with the sort of connections through Curva, actually I was working at the likes of Millwall and Crystal Palace doing working with the academy kids, but specifically the skills coaching. Then it again working actually with an in Fulham academy that was separate from Curva, but again having that experience, that knowledge definitely opens doors. So then it was just and actually it was through a connection of mine at Farnborough Town at the time that actually had the opportunity to work within the academy at Fulham. So spent a good 2 or 3 years we're working with different age groups at Fulham, which again is it's one thing playing in an academy, but then actually being fortunate enough to coach in an academy and just to see the environment the kids are in. And it's even, again, it's way better now than it was 20, 30 years ago when I was playing in academies. The facilities, the professionalism goes up and up and up. The equipment they use, everything they've exposed you to, gyms and nutrition and everything else that goes with it. So again, spending some time working in a professional academy and at the same time working alongside yourself, of course, with complete. So kind of the whole thing was all sort of similar sort of time, Curver, working in professional clubs, working with yourself, developing programs, really getting the complete sort of program off the ground from its early days to, and actually starting that process to go from a pretty small organisation to actually what it is now, which of course has grown substantially over the years.
And also, I know that obviously you've had a little bit of an international coaching experience as well. When did that happen? Because
so that was probably actually between the sort of Curve and the Fulham days. I think it was actually somewhere in between. I spent best part of 2 years living and working in New England, which was some of them, again, talking about some great playing days, those 3 years at Farnborough. Those couple of years of living and working in New England were arguably sort of the two best years.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. It's something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Always wanted to, as soon as I got into coaching, I thought, you know what? I love America. I love going to America. We still go every year now. It was just something I always wanted to try, always wanted to do. Fantastic facilities. If we have some good facilities in places in this country. It's a whole other world in America.
It is, isn't it?
And the facilities that the young kids over here, especially, we tend to go quite top heavy on the top. The top end. The pro clubs have amazing facilities. Quite often the grassroots not quite so good. In America, they put a lot of emphasis and money into younger sort of kids sport as well. So there's some amazing facilities, even at the sort of grassroots level and just above. So amazing experience. Kind of almost, again, a bit like a lot of things tend to happen, a conversation with someone, so-and-so's brother lives here and is looking for coaches, and an email went here and a conversation via Facebook went there, and before you know it, 2 or 3 months later, you're getting your visa and on a plane and living in America, which is quite bizarre when you've got a 1.5-year-old daughter at home. You just pack up and ship her off to America, but she had the best couple of years of her life as well. So, yeah.
I think just seeing those different cultures. So I've had experiences quite a few times. I think 4 times out in Canada. I used to go in there in the summer, and like you said, very similar to America. Like, I think there's that American dream, isn't it? I think they worked out a stat that something like it's about like £10,000 or $10,000 a year that parents invest within sport. Like there's money thrown into it, whereas over here, I think there is that investment, but not to that level, because everyone thinks that they're going to sort of play at that top level. But those experiences that I've had over in Canada, I've been out to Cameroon as well. Like when you just see different environments, it's just, I think every coach, and I'm actually talking to one coach now, a younger coach that he's going to university, doing his coaching stuff, doing his management stuff. And I said, my best bit of advice, as soon as you finished, go and take yourself out to loads of different places, see different coaching styles, different coaches, how they do stuff, because it just builds your own portfolio up of what you are, because every single coach is different.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things is you actually see different cultures. You actually see how different people, i.e., Americans especially, and probably the same in Canada, how they actually embrace coaching and professional coaching. I think they appreciate it. I don't want to say they appreciate it more than us, but they appreciate it in a different way, because they probably appreciate that you've got a specific skill that maybe they can't do. So they're very, very, very happy to pay the money, but they're fully appreciative of you're actually a professional coach. So it's great to see that kind of different appreciation. I think in England we do become a little bit complacent. We've all played football at a level, even if we haven't got a badge, I can coach. There is an element of that amongst a lot of English dads and coaches, not all absolutely, but some, because it's kind of our, it's our national sport, it's our national treasure, football. So you go to a different country and you experience their perception of you in a different way, and actually a lot of the time a better way as well.
I think it's taken a massive turn, to be honest with you. I feel like, and there's anyone and everyone should be able to get into coaching, but like you said, people on the back end of maybe just playing the game, whether it's a low level, high level, I think the game's going, especially with like the youth and the junior setups that we've got. There's more full-time, or let's say professional coaches that are now doing that industry, and it's maybe coming away from less of the grassroots sort of, let's say, typical dad coaching, which some of them out there are doing a great job. But I think the more it gets into that line of sort of work, I think the brighter future that we have for the English game, I think. I mean, like, for example, right now we run our own team or run our own club, and we've got our own teams, but they're all independent coaches running it and trying to follow our program. And I think that's the way that it's going a lot more nowadays, like with the, let's say, private coaching companies / going into teams, which I think can only be a positive, really.
Yeah, and I mean, the college programs as well, not just the junior teams, the college programs is a fantastic way of actually, given the the lads an exit route from school, an education, but also giving coaches a full-time role. You know, there are. I'm going back to when I started coaching. These programs didn't exist. The college programs that we're involved in now didn't exist. So pretty much the only way of having a full-time career in coaching was if you were lucky enough, good enough, knew the right person that worked in a pro club, and you could go and be first team manager, the reserve manager, or the under-18s coach at a professional club. That was it. Now those opportunities go down younger age groups in pro clubs, but away from the professional game, there's a lot more opportunities to actually for young lads, and you've seen this firsthand because you take guys on and actually giving them a full-time career in football, working schools, a decent level of kind of junior football, but also working full-time daytime with college kids in academies.
So probably my favourite question of this, it's not actually written down here, is you're a very respected and I think a very, very good coach. What is it that's from the release, the injury, has made you the coach that you are? And what I mean by that is you're very passionate in the way that you coach and you deliver. And I think you show that in the way in which you coach towards the groups that you work with. Doesn't matter whether it was kids this big, kids this big. Whereas before, you know, you had that sort of bitterness about not playing and you've turned it into coaching. What is it from that you try and provide when you're coaching?
I think it's to that sort of real determination, going back to the same way, that determination to actually provide whoever I'm coaching the best coaching, the best advice, and actually to get them to be the best they can be, whatever level that is. And that probably comes from a lifetime in the game, playing and coaching, but also having seen the other side of it in terms of rejection and injury. So having seen how things can end very, very quickly and suddenly and beyond your control. So having seen that, to then not want any player to waste an opportunity to develop and improve. Do you know what? This summarises what I think your coaching is. Every single session that you're in, you've never been uninterested. So I think what I mean by that is every single session, you treat every single session like it's your last, and you also treat every single player like, don't take this for granted, because this could be gone like that. Do you know what I mean? And I've told kids that in sessions.
Yeah.
So you might not play tomorrow, you might not play next week.
And it's like, and that is like the value of maximising every single session. So it's like, well, let's put the hard work in right now because we don't know where this is going to take us. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way I see that in you. So if you notice, like previously when we've worked with like the juniors or something, it's like, it's not a frustration. It's more of like, well, this standard isn't like where you boys want to be. Like, you want to be higher because you don't know if this is going to bang go, or do you know what I mean? There's that sort of...
You're right, a word you just said there as well, standards.
Yeah.
There needs to be standards in every session. And it's not about just working with the best of the best. It's not about working with the guys that are playing for the under-16 at Fulham Academy.
Yeah.
If you're in a after-school session, if you're working with the under-10s that they're playing Division 7, it doesn't matter. Be the best you can be.
Yeah.
And be the best you can be on that day. You know, is that your best? No. Well, how can we make it better? And it is that. You're right. Every session I coach, probably subconsciously a lot of the time, because that's my personality. But no, be the best you can be at whatever level that is for you as well.
And then I suppose, how infuriating is it for you when you don't see somebody that's trying hard? You don't, and you see some, because like you said, the programs that we deliver and programs that are delivered nationwide, where people take it for granted. And you know what? Like people, let's just say, let's pick on one of our college programs we run. Someone turns up to our college programs like, oh, can't really be bothered to be here. What does that do for you, knowing that
Yeah, that's when the frustration comes out, and if they're constantly like it, or if it's a real bad, that's almost where the not the anger comes out, but the come on, the real frustration. Almost, do you realise what the opportunity you have here? Again, yes, we all have good and bad days, but come on, you're here now. What an amazing opportunity you have, because we have some good facilities. We have good coaches, we have great facilities. They're in a fortunate position, especially the college boys. They play football every day. Do you actually realise? And it doesn't last long. Yes, it could end like that tomorrow for reasons beyond your control. But ultimately, you're only there for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So whilst you're here, make the most of every opportunity you get when you're out on that pitch.
And I don't know why I'm thinking about it so much now. I think it's because we're reflecting on what you've been through. But a comment from a lad that's fit, healthy, actually quite a good footballer, that turns around and you say, I don't even know if I want to play anymore.
Oh, I've heard that. But
many
a time.
I'm thinking from your perspective, then you must just be looking and thinking like, what I'd give, like to do what you're doing right now and to be having the opportunity 100%. You've got.
Oh, sorry. Fine. And I've told them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to go into depth about what's happened personally, but do you realise the position you're in, opportunities you've got, and trust me, the day you cannot play football anymore, you'll regret it very, very quickly. So take the opportunity now while it's still there.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Okay, towards the back end of this, I'm sort of thinking now, I mean, recently you've opened up a new journey, which I'm actually quite excited about. It's brand new. You've stepped back into the place where you started from with Yateley, gone in with the under-18s. It looks like you've got a great side going on there. Also stepped in, which I didn't think it was going to happen straight away. I thought it was always going to happen, but with the 23s and stuff like that, like where you've gone into, I mean, we've worked with 18s, but it's a different level with the under the lights, allied counties, whatever we're playing at. Like I honestly, I've been through some tough times with the allied counties teams that I had, but I loved that sort of, do you know what I mean? When you turn up to college and you're training every day and you've got league games and stuff like that and you're around them, great. But when it's specifically training session, match, what's that been like?
Do you know the biggest thing that you miss when you can't play?
Yeah.
Changing rooms.
Yeah.
Dressing room.
Yeah.
Being back in a dressing room is amazing. And until you've been in that situation, that environment, it's so hard to explain what you mean by you miss a dressing room. It's just a lot of sweaty blokes kicking the ball around. Of course it is. But when you've grown up in that environment from such a young age, it's an amazing place. The banter, the togetherness, you don't really get it. I've never experienced it anywhere else. And I've worked in a lot of places, a lot of jobs, a lot of environments. You cannot replicate a football dressing room. It's very, very unique. So that's the first thing that you miss. And everyone says that. Everyone you speak to that's been a player at any level says the first thing you miss is a dressing room. So to be back involved in it is amazing. You're right. There's something special about being under the lights. There's one thing playing on a Saturday afternoon in the cold, as we have tomorrow. Yeah. But it's another thing playing under the lights. The reason I'm back in it, and like you, I've been privileged to be paid as a football coach for many, many years. So to actually go back and give something back to the game for free is amazing. To actually give your time for free, it's really, really amazing. To give it back to Yateley, as I said earlier, I'm a Yateley dad. Moved back to Yateley. I'm now living in Yateley again. Spent 25 years living there. Got spotted playing for Tottenham on pretty much the same pitch that I now work with Yateley on. So it's just gone full circle. And I was really, really determined and happy to be giving something back, not only to grassroots football, but to Yateley specifically. Yeah. And you're right on the point on the 23s, or the reserve team, whatever you want to call it. It is technically the 23s. To be working in sort of adult football again is great again. Just to have that link between the 18s and the first team, so sort of you can help those guys, giving them the outlet and giving them that pathway into the first team, hopefully. It's amazing. And
then, I think like I do the same. I do it for Frimley with the first team. And I think it brings it back to, I think when you do it and you like doing it for free, brings it back to being a hobby. Like it's all of a sudden like, like you said, with the changing with the lads and all that sort of stuff, it almost like, even though we're coaching near enough every single day, when it comes around to a Thursday night training session or a Saturday, I don't feel like I'm working. Do you know what I mean?
No,
It doesn't.
I'm not working when I'm coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a special. It is like a special time, and I mean, I'm enjoying it. I know you're enjoying it. Do you feel like this is going to be a stepping stone again to try and do anything else?
Honestly, don't know. But the reason being what you just said there earlier about it almost being a hobby. It is, and that actually is an interesting point I sort of wanted to bring up as well. A lot of people now probably, and I have heard this from people sort of firsthand, so it is true. A lot of kids now get into football because of the fame and the money. You know, that's fact. There's a ridiculous amount of money involved in football, especially in England. So a lot of kids want to play football for money. Genuinely, even when I was full-time player at Tottenham Hotspur, getting paid to play football for a living, I never thought, I'm going to earn this much, do that, get this much money, whatever. You were still doing it because it's what you love doing. That's it. So to actually go back into
and it's a hard thing because, like, you know, even with the lower level, like we're step 6 and money flies around at that level. Yeah. And do you know what? That's the one thing. My first season of managing last year, I found that the hardest bit.
Yeah.
Like, and to be honest with you, I didn't really. Well, I had a budget and I didn't really use it. And I mean, we were in the situation where we nearly got relegated. And then I'm thinking to myself, I want to do well this year, and I've had to use some money to get some players in. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, we're playing step 6, and I mean, it's a controversial thing. But then, if you look at step 5, some of the money that's flying around there, I'm thinking, some people are literally just playing football at step 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Step 4, they're almost like that's their main income. I'm thinking to myself,
Again, we grew up in a different time. I was playing at Farnborough. That's probably one of the lowest levels, and that was step 1. One of the lowest levels you'd have got any half decent money. Now you're right, you can go down several levels below that and get the money, and sadly still get players that will only go somewhere if there's money flowing around. And that's the disappointing thing. They don't want to go somewhere or don't want to play for someone because of the love of the team, love of the game, love of the club, love of the area, whatever that is. That's hard to find. So. To answer your question earlier, that's why I don't know about where I would want to go to it, because obviously naturally the higher up you go, then it does become about different things, and money is one part of it. So just enjoying the journey at the moment. Yeah.
Well, no, that's brilliant. I mean, everything from there, I mean, this is called Sidelined, but in my eyes, it's sort of sidelined to success with everything that you've done from it. And I think it will massively help people that are probably been through something very similar or something not as severe, and just getting people to realise that you will get setbacks, but make something happen from it.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, everyone's going to get setbacks. Absolutely, all the time. It's how you react. It's how you deal with it. Pretty much like we talk to footballers about, right?
Yeah.
In a second, something goes wrong on the pitch. How do you react? How do you deal with it?
Exactly.
This is just an expansion of that and life choices. And you do have choices. Crikey, I could have gone a completely different route. None of it very pleasant. You know, having only ever been involved in football at top level football as a player, to then not be able to play at the age of 21, you could have gone a completely different route. It's a lot of it's in your own character. Yeah, it's your support network as well. Really, really important. Surround yourself with the right people. It's a conversation you and I have had a lot. You are a reflection of those that you surround yourself with, and probably only a select few as well.
Yeah.
So, an inbuilt determination. It comes from within. But massively surround yourself with the right people, and whatever setback you get, and there's people that are going to, by the way, there's people that will go for a lot worse than me, by the way. Mine's only a knee injury. So it's how you react, it's your determination, and get back on the horse and
that's it,
and go again.
100%. Right, what we have to finish with is, I haven't put coups up there, but it's a very simple game. Let me just put it up here. All you got to do is pick one out. I'll hold it. Pick the same colour. If you match it, you get 1. All right. So if it's a white and a white, you've just successful. Put it down here. You got 3 lives.
Okay.
What's your memory like? Pick one out.
There.
Right.
My memory. Black. Absolutely shocking.
Right, you got to pick
which
one
is
more.
Why my daughter calls me Dory, because I can't remember what I did 3 minutes ago.
Right. So that's black, and that is yellow. So you remember that. Black's there, yellow's there. You've lost 1 life. You've got 2 remaining. Okay. Green. Good start.
Brilliant.
White.
Amazing.
I think you've had 4 different colours at the moment. So that's 2. You got 1 life
Could have
left.
gone much better. Now, I've had one of those before, you see.
Yeah.
And I've got a feeling it's that one.
I can tell you where it was. It was that one.
Absolute Reggie, see?
So you are joining coup with
Amazing.
0.
Literally doesn't surprise me. Will surprise my daughter even less. She's probably surprised I got that many.
Right, no, appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
Absolute pleasure.
Hopefully everyone has a real good listen to that and takes away a lot from it, because I know I definitely have. It's made my brain start firing about so many different things. More so the emotions of what you went through to what you've done from it and how it sort of made you into a person. But I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, mate.